Good evening. This is Congressman Adriano Espaillat representing New York's 13th Congressional District. I bring you greetings from the mothership, Washington Heights, and it is my honor to welcome you to the 4th annual Dominicans on the Hill. The past 2 years have been tough, but our growing Dominican diaspora has shown the world that we're nothing short of resilient. We have put together an amazing program for you tonight. Tonight you will hear from some of the biggest names in music, arts, politics, technology, and all of the diaspora, echoing this message and discussing how we move forward together. We'll be paying tribute to the great Johnny Ventura, celebrating our culture and looking at what's ahead for our communities in the wake of this pandemic. Don't forget to join me and get in the conversation in the comments here on Facebook and over on Twitter using hashtag Dominicans on the Hill. I want to thank the Dominican Americans across the country, many of you watching tonight, who every day make our nation a better place for all of us to live in. You are in a treat for tonight. Dominicanos hasta la tambora.
¡Uepa! Hola, Mari.
¿Cómo que hola, chico? ¿Qué es lo que te pasa? What are you doing?
Hello, buenas. Yo estoy, no me pierdo eso, celebrando que soy dominicano hasta la tambora.
Bueno, mi corazón, yo también soy dominicana hasta la tambora, so let's keep this celebration going because you know how proud I am to be dominicana. But Brea, we have a show to do, so let's get this party started right now.
Right now, sí, pero es que con la emoción, con mirando el guión y preparándonos para todo esto se me olvidó. Y mira la hora que es, así que vamos a comenzar esto, a celebrar lo grande que somos como dominicanos. Dominicanos hasta la tambora.
And now it is time to unwrap that Dominican pride because this is the 4th annual Dominicans on the Hill, and I am so very happy to be here. So let's welcome everyone. I am Damaris Diaz.
Yo soy Brea Frank, felices de estar aquí compartiendo nuestro orgullo, nuestra pasión.
We really couldn't be happier to help usher in tonight's festivities by kicking off this 4th annual virtual edition. And get ready because tonight we are going to have an amazing time.
Pero ¿y la gente sabe lo que estamos celebrando?
Claro que sí, Brea, nuestra patria, nuestra cultura, el orgullo de ser dominicano de pura cepa, dominicano hasta la tambora. Dominicano hasta la tambora. Wow, Brea, but in all seriousness, we've had such a difficult 2 years with this pandemic, but hey, we are still here and we are staying strong. And tonight we are celebrating our resilience,
nuestro poder,
our achievements as individuals and as a community.
Nuestro brillo y nuestra determinación.
And in celebrating each other, we empower the next generation by giving them examples of the members in our beloved Dominican diaspora excelling in ways beyond what we thought we ever could.
Claro que sí, Damaris, vamos a esto. Nuestro primer artista viene desde nuestra República Dominicana, celebrando en grande todo un ícono para nuestro país y el mundo. Aquí está Fefita La Grande.
Este es el merengue, mamá de la agarradera.
¿Cómo?
Este es el merengue, mamá de la agarradera. La baila la niña conmigo y también la vieja.
Que no soy yo.
La baila la niña conmigo y también la vieja.
La agarradera, no la bailo yo.
La agarradera,
no la bailo yo. La bailó Fefita y se murió. La bailó Fefita y se murió. ¡Uepa! Johnny Ventura, inmortal, te vamos a recordar por siempre. Adriano Espaillat. Ahí.
oigan mujeres y la vecina de lado. Oigan mujeres y la vecina de lado.
¿Cómo?
La agarradera, segurito que han bailado. La ganadera segurito que apoyado.
La garratera, la bailo yo. La garratera, la bailo yo. La luna vieja y se murió. La luna vieja y le tiro se murió. Que esa vieja no era yo. Johnny Ventura, el caballo mayor, inmortal. Por siempre te vamos a recordar. ¡Guau! ¡Ya! ¡Ah! El aplauso fuertísimo para el inmortal Johnny Ventura.
Gracias, Fefita La Grande, por ser parte de esta historia, Dominicans on the Hill.
And this is just the very beginning.
Y en este momento tenemos un segmento de tecnología.
That's right. And here joining us tonight are the distinguished Dominican leaders in realm technology. So please help us welcome from Microsoft, Joel Duran, and from Amazon, Dora María Abreu.
De TikTok, Pavel Martínez, y desde Google, Clarissa Abreu. Adelante.
Thank
Wow.
you, Damaris Andrea. Welcome, everyone. Good evening. Buenas noches. This is the Dominicans in Tech at the Dominicans in the Hill. I'm going to jump right in and ask questions to our wonderful panel here. I'm going to start with Dora. Dora, as a woman raised in a Dominican neighborhood in New York, how has the culture influenced you in your identity, in your career, in your performance at the workplace?
Wow, Clarissa, that's an awesome question. I'm a very proud Dominican, and one of the things that just stands out right away is the resiliency. It's to have that tenacity to get things done, no matter what problems or issues pop up. You just make it happen, and you get to your goals, and that is brought to the workplace as well. And also that sense of entrepreneurship. Being first generation in this country, my parents had their own business. It was a family business. Actually, they had two of them. One was an auto repair shop, and one was a liquor store. So going and living through that, we're very entrepreneurial. So when you go and work in the workplace, you're also doing, you're taking lead on projects. You're taking, bringing innovation and ideas to the table that some people are not even thinking about. So those are the things that I could tell you right off the bat and then networking, because we're very charismatic people. We come from large families, and we learn to network really early and to compromise. Yeah. So yes.
Thank you. Well, it's wonderful. And Pavel, how about you? You work at TikTok, one of the most popular platforms nowadays, especially for Latinos and people of color. How has diversity played a role in the TikTok success? My understanding is we are the most users of this platform. How that happened?
Yeah, I think TikTok is a beautiful platform in the sense that if you compare it to other social media platforms, like let's say Instagram, for example, the top 10 most popular people on Instagram, 5 out of the 10 are all Kardashians or Jenners. If you look at LinkedIn, they're all CEOs or presidents of certain countries, right? When you look at TikTok, like there's people in the Dominican Republic that are more popular than the most popular singers in the United States. You know what I mean? So I think it really like levels the playing field in many ways, where you don't have to be a celebrity to have a voice. You don't have to be a celebrity to grow a following, community, and even launch a business. So I think it's really democratized the ability to create a path for yourself.
That's wonderful. Well, Dora, going back to you, technology is not a typical path for women, especially women of color. What motivated you to go into technology as you were growing up?
Bueno, it was more like I didn't have a choice. My dad was a mechanic. He grew up in a shop his whole life. And thus it was a family business, and he took that pretty literal. So we were always in the shop if we weren't in school. And I was the gadget girl. I was girl number 3. So I was hands-on, working in the shop. And I'm one of those people. I drive stick. I can change a tire. I can change filters. I mean, there's like all those things that come into play. I just always was curious. I wanted to know how things worked. and I took things apart all the time. I just had to make sure everything was back together before my father noticed that I had it all in pieces. But other than that, that's really where I got my start. And I was just always very, I mean, I still am. Like when, you know, my dad had a iPad that had broken, and he's like, oh, I got a surprise for you. And I get there and he's like, got an iPad, we can take it apart. It broke. We can see how it works inside. Because he already knew. Like I was like, I wonder how that's working inside. So
that's great. Hey, Joel, I understand you attended Pathways in Technology for high school. It's a kind of a vocational school. How did that school influence or impacted you in continuing in technology?
Yeah, PTech, Pathways in Technology Early College High School, is a very unique school in Brooklyn. It has two big partners, IBM, who is our corporate partner, and then they have CUNY, which is the community college based out of New York City, as their college partner. While you're going through high school, you kind of get an opportunity to not only get kind of workplace learning, so how to tie a tie, how to send an email, Excel, Word, but you also get experience and exposure to early college courses with other college students as a high school student. So for me, it prepared me for college, and it also prepared me for industry. My first internship was when I was 16 years old. So by the time I was 21, I had been in the industry for 5 years.
Wow.
So it really gave me that leg up and my opportunity. And, you know, it's a privilege, and a privilege that I feel like others should be able to exercise as well.
Yeah, you were a wonderful role model for us to continue to support charter schools, vocational schools, and technical schools for our younger generation. Abed, I cannot stop watching your TikToks. It's just amazing. Your personal TikToks are out of this world. What are you trying to accomplish with those TikToks?
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm trying to create the representation that I wish I had when I was younger. When I think about when I was younger, mi abuelo me decía cada rato, do you see presidents with beards? Do you see them with do-rags, tattoos, earrings, CEOs? And I was like, oh, no, okay. And I understand what he was trying to do to me. He was trying to protect me from people's negative perceptions, but what he was indirectly telling me what to do was I needed to be more white in order to be successful. So when I went into corporate America, I wasted days out of my week to try to be more white. I used to study white popular American culture. Instead of listening to El Alfa, Antonio Rosario, I would listen to Bruce Springsteen. I would study Riverdale and binge watch shows just to be able to feel relatable.
You're losing your identity, right?
I was losing my identity in many ways because I would really just try to be relatable. It wasn't until I found out that what set me apart was actually my strength and not my vulnerability that I realized that, no, I should embrace who I am, right? So TikTok allows me to talk about some of these experiences, build a community, like-minded people, but also for me to finally be that representation for someone that is talking to their abuelo. And when their abuelo says, yo, do you see presidents with beards and all these kind of things? You could be like, no, but I see Pavel. Pavel is working at TikTok. Pavel is doing his thing. So
and he looks like me.
Exactly. He looks like me. So I just want to be that representation for people that I wish I had when I was younger.
I congratulate you so much for that effort. It's wonderful. And one last question, and maybe Pavel, you can answer that, and anybody else can chime in. Access to broadband is critical for people to have access to technology, for us to be able to be successful as a community. How do you think the lack of broadband access have impacted the development of our communities and their economic development success?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, I don't know, decades ago, the only way that people used to be able to learn is to physically be in an educational institution, an academic institution, to be able to be accepted into certain things, right? And even if you want to go to like Harvard, let's say, like if you go to Dominican Republic, I mean, just think about the miles needed to take the trip, right? These days, there's so much education and knowledge that you can gain just from having internet access. Okay. Not only the education, but you can learn how to launch a business and then go launch a business. You can grow an audience. You have unlimited access to things with the right internet connection. Now, is that available for everyone? No. Which is why you see companies like Google, you see companies like Facebook invest in satellites that literally beam internet access down to rural areas. Now, imagine if this wasn't just taken up by a few companies. Imagine if governments dedicated money to do this and came together in some way to really solve this problem for everyone. I think it'll change the world.
Any additional message that you guys would like to leave for our community? We have a couple of minutes to do so.
I wanted to chime in really quickly. I think it's important to take part in some of the things that happen, like the Hour of Code, like First Robotics, and even the Science Bowls, because this gives those kids in our inner city schools an opportunity to really get involved in technology. Even if they don't have it individually available, they can take part in these broader programs that kind of teach them how to, do the technology, understand it, so that when they do get that access, they're able to hit the ground running as well with those skill sets.
For me, technology was my escape. For many years, I didn't have internet in my house. I was borrowing the Optimum Wi-Fi from the people upstairs. The pandemic essentially exacerbated the inequity that there is in this world, especially in education. I think it's very critical for governments to support internet at home for people, regardless if it's like a certain level, because without that, you don't have access to an education. You don't have access to the internet. You don't have access to other venues like TikTok even, and it kind of stunts your growth.
I think there's a lot that we can do from policy standpoint when it comes to inclusivity in the workplace as well. I think a lot of what we're talking about is diversity, is like literally just getting people inside these doors. But once we're inside these doors, a lot of us are just like, oh wow, nobody looks like me. Nobody can relate to me, right? So what are some things that we can do from a policy standpoint to make us feel more comfortable? I think the Crown Act is a great example. Right now, the way our hair naturally grows out of our heads is being policed. It's being called unprofessional. Our sexual orientations are being questioned and being told that we shouldn't be displaying that in the workplace. I mean, there's so many examples of policies that are actually in place right now that aren't protecting people that look like us. So that's one thing that I would encourage our policymakers to think about and take a look at and take action as well.
Great. Well, thank you guys. Thank you very much. And now back to Brea and the Maddies. Thank you.
Wow, Joel, Dora, Pavel, Clarissa, qué interesante es poder conocer el poder de la educación en la tecnología y conocer así de a fondo los obstáculos que sobrepasan nuestros jóvenes hasta lograr conseguir sus metas. Enhorabuena y ha sido un gran placer.
We certainly live in a technology-based world, and it's imperative that all of our children have equal opportunities when it comes to education. And I love that these leaders in tech are building bridges to close that opportunity gap, Brea.
Así es, Damaris, son una gran inspiración, aunque tenemos mucho más por hacer. Pero en este momento me gustaría que les rindamos un homenaje a estos héroes de la diáspora dominicana que lo han dado todo por nuestra dominicanidad y los recordamos en este minuto de silencio.
And this past year, we also lost a Dominican icon, the one and only Johnny Ventura.
También conocido como el caballo mayor, Johnny Ventura, legislador, político, se encargó de llevar nuestra música por el mundo, ganador de Grammy, y su música siempre será un gran tesoro.
And that is why tonight's program is dedicated to the life of the great Johnny Ventura, el Caballo Mayor. And we would like to begin honoring him tonight with this next number featuring international recording star Manny Cruz.
No hay nadie que me pare, es una vaina muy difícil de explicar. Se me entra por la vena y siento que me quema, que sabrosura es un ritmo sin igual. Dejarte llevar es la clave para gozar, y más si tienes alguien a quien apretar. Qué rico es el merengue, imposible de no bailar. Es el merengue, tambor y guira sonará, tu corazón alegrará, de mi quisqueya ha puesto el mundo a bailar. Qué rico es el merengue, que se te mete por los pies. Baila merengue, pa' que te mueva como es. Tu corazón alegrará, de mi quisqueya pues todo el mundo a bailar. Qué rico es el merengue. Y oye qué rico, mami. Bailando apandillado de frente y de medio lado, con el caballo y mi amigo Manny Cruz. Pa' que mueva esa cadera, saca lo malo pa' afuera, olvida todo pa' que puedas disfrutar. Déjate llevar es la clave para gozar, y más si tienes alguien a quien apretar. Qué rico es el merengue, imposible de no bailar. Es el merengue, tambor y guira sonará, tu corazón alegrará, de mi quisqueya pues todo el mundo a bailar. Qué rico es el merengue, que se te mete por los pies. Baila merengue, pa' que te mueva como es. Tu corazón alegrará, de mi quisqueya pues todo el mundo a bailar. Qué rico es el merengue, te lo dije. Oye mami, esto sí está rico. Que sí que Johnny, fuímonos. Manny Cruz. Qué rico es el merengue, imposible de no bailar. Es el merengue, tambor y guira sonará, tu corazón alegrará, de mi quisqueya pues todo el mundo a bailar. Qué rico es el merengue, que se te mete por los pies. Baila merengue, pa' que te mueva como es. Tu corazón alegrará, de mi quisqueya pues todo el mundo a bailar. Qué rico es el merengue, pero qué sabroso, mami. Esto es merengue, pa' que sepa. Manny Cruz. Gracias, Manny.
Buenísimo, Johnny, buenísimo, buenísimo.
Hola, soy Ana Quesada, senadora estatal del estado de Rhode Island. Es para mí un privilegio presentarle esta fructífera conversación entre nuestro congresista del Distrito 13 del estado de Nueva York, Adriano Espaillat, y el excelentísimo señor presidente de la República Dominicana, Luis Abinader.
Buenas noches todos. Encontramos aquí con el presidente, el honorable presidente de la República Dominicana, Luis Abinader. Le habla el congresista Adriano Espaillat. Gracias por sintonizar a Dominicans On The Hill. Esta es una oportunidad para dialogar con el presidente y darle seguimiento a algunas de las propuestas que le presentamos en septiembre del año pasado en la ciudad de Nueva York. Bienvenido, presidente. La primera pregunta es realmente, ¿qué podemos esperar de los escaños de los 7 diputados en ultramar y también el pedido para un posible escaño senatorial para los miembros de la diáspora?
Bueno, muchas gracias, Adriano. Los puntos que nos presentaron, nosotros creamos una comisión de trabajo donde le está dando seguimiento la ministra Gianilda Vázquez y estamos trabajando en todos y cada uno de esos puntos. Algunos de esos puntos ya hemos avanzado porque más allá de los puntos que nos reunimos con ustedes, como ustedes saben, incorporamos otros puntos de otras personas que estaban y otros sectores que estaban preocupados por otros temas y también lo incorporamos como nuestra agenda con la diáspora, que para nosotros es fundamental. Lo primero que quiero decir es que para este gobierno la diáspora representa un lugar especial en todas sus acciones y así lo consideramos aún, Adriano, en momentos tan difíciles donde todos los gobiernos del mundo han tenido que enfocarse en lo que ha sido la pandemia y la crisis económica consecuencia de esa pandemia, que en lo que tiene que ver con la política exterior y con la diáspora no nos ha permitido realmente desarrollar toda la agenda a la velocidad que queríamos. Pero está ahí pendiente y está realmente dispuesta a continuar. Sobre el tema de la diáspora, yo pienso que nosotros deberíamos, sobre su representación, hacer una discusión que pudiese realizarse en el Consejo Económico y Social sobre la representación efectiva a esa diáspora. Nosotros estamos de acuerdo en que esa diáspora tenga esa representación efectiva. Recuerden que fue el doctor José Francisco Peña Gómez, un líder histórico, del cual nosotros somos herencia de sus ideas, que propuso en la Constitución esa representación de la diáspora. Por lo tanto, una representación más efectiva, nosotros estamos dispuestos a discutirla para el futuro. Sobre el tema también de los puntos, hemos estado trabajando en lo que es la tasa de los $10, la tasa de turistas. Le hemos añadido una forma más para el reembolso. Claro, estamos también trabajando para que de manera electrónica, desde que tú compres el ticket, pues todo dominicano ponga su número de pasaporte o su cédula y ya no se le cobre como debería de ser. Y es lo que nosotros aspiramos para los próximos meses. Claro, no es una variable que depende solo de nosotros. La Dirección General de Impuestos Internos, así como también el Ministerio de Turismo, han estado trabajando con las líneas aéreas para que adapten su software de la manera adecuada y también con las agencias de viajes internacionales. Esto yo pienso que esa facilitación, eso puede ocurrir en los próximos meses. Claro, desde ahora, cualquiera que quiera reintegrárselo en su tarjeta de crédito o a través del e-ticket, que se lo añadimos en esta administración también, otra manera de reembolso, puede hacerlo. Nosotros entendemos, sí, que hay muchos dominicanos de edad que quizás no tienen ese conocimiento digital, pero los jóvenes pueden hacerlo y de hecho, más de 5,000 lo hicieron en el pasado año, que es mucho más en relación en términos proporcionales en relación con otros años. También, recuérdate que nosotros teníamos previsto una reforma fiscal, presentar una reforma fiscal. Esa reforma fiscal no fue posible, por lo tanto, no pudimos hacer lo que queríamos, una readaptación donde disminuíamos muchos impuestos indirectos, como era el caso de los impuestos a los pasajes aéreos, y aumentábamos otros impuestos directos que siempre son más justos porque dependen de los niveles de ingresos. Y esa era la reforma que nosotros teníamos, pero ante las circunstancias de la pandemia, pues no encontramos que era el momento indicado. Pero también tengo que decirte sobre eso, Adriano, que también los impuestos del gobierno y las tasas del gobierno norteamericano son bastante altas. Incluso para viajar de República Dominicana, de Estados Unidos a República Dominicana, las tasas y los impuestos son mayores que si son internamente o si son, vamos a decir, a Puerto Rico. Por lo tanto, también hay un espacio para trabajar conjuntamente las dos autoridades y los dos gobiernos, teniendo en cuenta el peso político, social y económico que tiene nuestra diáspora para trabajar en ese sentido. En relación con los programas sociales, nosotros hemos incorporado la diáspora en el Seguro Nacional de Salud, que no estaba incorporada. Estamos incorporando la diáspora también en los programas de vivienda Familia Feliz. O sea, estamos tratando como deben de ser, como dominicanos que deben de tener todas las facilidades sociales que tienen. Hemos incorporado incluso también a pensiones a personas que trabajaron toda su vida en la República Dominicana, pero que quizá los últimos años pues lo trabajaron también fuera del país y hemos incorporado porque eso es de justicia. También estamos haciendo y creamos un departamento especial en Pro Dominicana, que yo creo que esto, Adriano, es algo que falta mucho. Falta mucho información sobre muchas áreas que ya hay incentivos para no solamente los dominicanos del exterior, sino en términos generales, nuestro país, y esa es una crítica que le hacen los organismos internacionales, es que tenemos demasiados incentivos fiscales para las inversiones y muchos de estos incentivos deberían de ser utilizados más por los dominicanos en el exterior. Y creamos para eso un departamento especial en Pro Dominicana que empezó a trabajar en enero, que va a ir a todas las ciudades donde hay presente una mayor diáspora y obviamente empezando en la ciudad de Nueva York, para que conozcan todas las facilidades que existen que habían y que hemos hecho para las inversiones y especialmente para la seguridad de sus inversiones en nuestro país.
Entendemos de que también los altos costos de vuelo se debe a un problema de competitividad y queríamos escuchar de usted sobre qué se está haciendo para dirigirse a ese
Correcto, correcto, es un buen punto. Muchas de las facilidades que algunas ocasiones me piden cosas que ya existen y que es bueno que la conozcan, y nosotros vamos a hacer toda la promoción para que esas facilidades en el área de inversiones se conozcan. Sobre el tema de los pasajes, fíjate que en diciembre, Adriano, subieron de manera irracional el costo de los pasajes, especialmente entre Nueva York y Santo Domingo y entre Miami y Santo Domingo. ¿Qué nosotros respondimos? Nosotros respondimos contratando charters para que pudiesen vender a $500 ida y vuelta durante ese tiempo. Eso por lo menos forzó a que esas líneas aéreas no continuaran subiendo los pasajes, porque hay un problema real de competencia, de mercado. Tenemos pocas líneas aéreas volando, tienen muchas rutas, pero son las mismas compañías. Entonces nosotros, para que el pueblo dominicano conozca, y especialmente la diáspora, estamos promocionando e incentivando para que se establezcan líneas en el país donde puede incentivar la competencia. Ya hemos logrado que se establezcan para la Florida y para Sudamérica una línea llamada Red Air, que es de capital dominicano-venezolano. Y ese para hacer competencia y que haya competencia en lo que tiene que ver con la Florida. En lo que tiene que ver con ya la parte norte-este, pues está Skycana, que también fue la compañía que empezó operaciones con los charters en diciembre, y está también Arayet, que es una nueva línea de capital norteamericano, dominicano también, que viene con una gran cantidad de aviones, y todo eso va a incentivar la competencia y va a hacer que los precios disminuyan. Además de eso, también tenemos por lo menos 2 proyectos más de líneas aéreas para establecer una línea aérea nacional, y de tal manera que esos costos desorbitados que lo lleva la falta de competencia, como hemos hablado, pues no existan en el futuro. Claro, tenemos año y medio de gobierno, empezamos en una pandemia, no hemos olvidado lo importante, hemos tenido que atender lo urgente que era la pandemia, pero no hemos olvidado temas importantes, y sabemos que en este periodo de gobierno vamos a llevar la competencia para que disminuyan los precios de los pasajes, así como muchas otras atenciones y garantías y promociones e incentivos que no es que nosotros, la diáspora exige, es que la diáspora se lo merece por todo lo que ha hecho por nosotros, por nuestro país.
Bueno, presidente, muchas gracias por su intervención y toda la información que le ha brindado a todos los dominicanos y amigos de dominicanos que se encuentran presentes aquí en esta conferencia de dominicanos en el Capitolio. Le damos las gracias por su interés y su apoyo y su solidaridad a la diáspora, y esperamos seguir este diálogo y logrando cosas para la misma.
Quiero reiterarte que en este año pues iremos o estaremos nosotros o estará una representación nuestra para ya hacer una misma conferencia que hicimos el año pasado en septiembre, pues hacerla ya con los resultados de cada una de las áreas que nosotros discutimos, e informándole a la diáspora de otras acciones también que estamos haciendo. Hay en los próximos días también vamos a anunciar algunas propuestas educativas, porque yo le pido a todos los dominicanos que viven allá en Estados Unidos que se mantengan en contacto con nuestro país, que vamos a incentivar esas áreas educativas para que envíen a sus hijos a conocer nuestra historia, nuestra cultura. Estamos apartando también unas becas especiales para los dominicanos en el exterior, pero que vengan con esas becas a estudiar aquí, en áreas donde puedan también desarrollarse. O sea, estamos muy animados en seguir esa agenda y en concluirla para favorecer a todo nuestro pueblo, y más con el agradecimiento que le tenemos, con su solidaridad, con su apoyo que han demostrado en esta crisis, aumentando las remesas que han llegado a nuestro país. Y muchas gracias a ti por ser el vocero principal de esos dominicanos, que cada día pues, nos envía tantas comunicaciones para lograr esos objetivos.
Muchas gracias, presidente, y gracias a todos los que están sintonizando. And now I leave you with some of the friends of Dominicans on the Hill.
Hey, this is Al Horford with my wife Amelia Vega.
Hey.
We're proud Dominicans, Dominicans on the Hill. I'm a professional basketball player for the NBA, for the Boston Celtics. And my American dream started when I came to the United States at 14. And really, this country taught me the importance and value of hard work. And if you work hard and you focus and you do the right things, you be a good citizen, you can accomplish a lot of great things in this country. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of having that and being a Dominican and representing all our people. And being an example that if you work hard and you do things the right way, you can make it.
Exactly. Well, I'm Amelia Vega. I'm a Miss Universe title holder, mommy of 4, a singer, and also an author. And all of this was accomplished in the United States. It's a country that has opened its doors. It's my home. I love, and it has made me a proud Dominican in another country with so many opportunities. Like Al said, if you work hard, you can accomplish everything you definitely dream. Definitely. It's honestly the most special country besides obviously mine in the world. So thank you so much. También Adriano Espaillat, un besote. Everybody enjoy the event. It's amazing. I learned so much and I hope you guys do today as well. Un besote.
Señores, estamos muy orgullosos de nosotros. Estamos en todas partes del mundo. En la primera parte de este programa hemos visto dominicanos destacados en la música, en la política,
en televisión,
radio, tecnología.
And we are about to show you Dominicans in yet another sector that is equally as important. And I'm speaking about public safety. Here to tell us a little bit more about just that is a leader in public safety and an avid advocate against gun violence. Let's please welcome New York City Mayor Eric Adams.
Good evening, everyone. Buenas noches. I am so thrilled to join the 4th annual Dominicans on the Hill celebration. And public safety is my #1 priority. The alarming rise in gun violence in New York City and across the nation has inflicted too much heartbreaking tragedy on us all. We must turn this pain into purpose, unite, and take action. I thank our incredible host, Congressman Espaillat, for bringing together civic leaders and everyday Dominican heroes. But we must also reflect on those who came first, parents and grandparents, who came here without knowing the language and without security. They gave us a foothold so we might stand. I will leave you with the words of my mother, which after the past 2 years feel more fitting than ever. She told me, when we find ourselves in dark places, those places can either be burials or plantings. We're going to turn them into plantings. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce this evening's segment on public safety and gun violence.
Thank you, Mayor Adams. So incredibly grateful to be with you all this evening. As many of you know, in 2020, we were hit with a global pandemic, racial and civil unrest. And when it came to violence in our community, there was so much tension between community and law enforcement. But I'm so incredibly grateful that we have an incredible panelist here to unpack just that. Dr. Lieberman, we'll start with you. Can you talk to us a little bit about the mental health impacts that we have experienced over the last couple of years?
Well, Julia, we've experienced a crisis like none in our lifetimes, I think. We know historically that whenever there are crises, whether it's social crises, whether it's due to an epidemic, whether it's due to any type of military conflict, that this causes social unrest, and with that comes violence. And oftentimes it becomes gun violence that's lethal. In this instance, we've had not just one, but 4 different types of crises. And all this placed great stress on the population as a whole. Stress is basically pressure. And we were living our lives under more pressure than we had done ever before, really. Now, this is a different kind of pressure, though, because we've had crises before. We've had fires, we've had hurricanes, we've had 9/11, we've had terrorist attacks, but those are like one and dones. This has lasted 2 years, and it's been sustained, and it's affected everybody, but in no place has it been more intense than in where I live and work, which is in northern Manhattan, and the community we serve in the hospital, Washington Heights. And that's because a lot of people live in multi-generational families close together, and also they're employed in essential work jobs. They had to work in transportation, they had to work in food services, they had to work to support hospitals and healthcare facilities. And this exposed them to the virus and made them work as opposed to find ways to protect themselves. Now, the other thing is that the healthcare systems, including what I do, which is probably mental health care, we couldn't do it because you couldn't see patients and we couldn't provide the care. So the result was people weren't getting treated and there was an increase of homelessness. And the combination has been manifest in a number of ways, but unfortunately, one of the worst ways is through violence and gun violence.
Yeah. And, in many ways, it was the perfect storm. And no more community other than those who are living the realities felt the brunt of that. So Haley, as a community activist and someone who's been in the front lines, can you talk a little bit about the intersection of mental health, violence, and just the mistrust that exists in communities when dealing with law enforcement?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Julia. And Dr. Lieberman, I agree with so much that you've already mentioned. In talking about violence prevention, we definitely have to talk about the traumas that exist and the historic mistrust. When we're thinking about mistrust, it's included racial profiling by the police. It's included many incidents of police brutality, and also the reality of mass incarceration that's really affected our communities for many generations, right? And because of that mistrust, we have to acknowledge and really value community-based approaches to increasing public safety, meaning that everyone plays a role in keeping their community safe and giving space for community to play that role in making their blocks, their buildings, their neighborhoods a safer place. And what has that really looked like on the ground? It's really looked like meeting people where they're at with holistic interventions, like the New York City Crisis Management System that has used credible messenger organizations like the Center's Save Our Streets program that has used credible messengers to be on the ground to de-escalate and mediate incidents that could lead to gun violence and also retaliatory violence, because they're using their credibility of knowing folks on the ground to know how to best intervene and help. Also, our programs like RISE Project that's really looking at a community-based lens to talking about domestic violence and its intersections with gun violence, and also just making our communities, safer and improving and maintaining our quality of life through placemaking and placekeeping strategies, and of course, our root cause issues, right? So increasing economic investment in our communities is so important. And when we're valuing people and bringing people to the table to play that role, I'm talking about everyone can play a role no matter what your job is. So we can incorporate el salon, incorporate la bodega, because we know a lot of this stuff happens in our communities. And if we're incorporating folks to have those pieces, we can really, that's what work on the ground looks like in keeping our community safer.
I love that. Thank you so much, Haley. I think it's important to bring in the chief and his perspective in regards to the mistrust and also the impact that has had on law enforcement and how our officers are able to do their work. So, Chief, can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Julia, thank you. And to Dr. Lieberman and Haley, absolutely spot on comments. And listen, there's no secret to it. There's a myriad of internal problems for decades within the police department. And number one, and most prevalent, unfortunately and sadly in our city, has been that mistrust. And we cannot move forward as a police department, as an agency, certainly in this pivotal moment in the city, if not across the country, but specifically in New York City, where our youth continue to get gunned down and arrested with guns, if we don't get in this together. And this panelist here is exactly what we need day in and day out on the streets. from the people on every corner, from credible messengers to the local clergy to elected officials at every level, local, state, and federal, and specifically the buy-in from the police department, from our police commanders, from every cop on the street. Because what we're seeing is a revolving door of our youth getting shot, of our youth getting arrested with guns, from the Bronx to Brooklyn to Staten Island, all across the city. And we need the help. We're crying out for help. As a police department, we're crying out for help. And it will not work unless we have the people who live day in and day out in those neighborhoods do it. Because as we all know, if you're in Harlem or Washington Heights, from one block to the next, it's a totally different neighborhood. And so we don't need someone to come in from the outside, parachute in, and tell us, hey, this is what's going to work in your neighborhood. It will not work. It will fail. Let's get everybody in from our neighborhoods to get on and get this right.
So knowing that 10 minutes is never enough to talk about anything, especially something this big, I would love to end with just some closing remarks. And my hope is that we can end with thinking about what is hopeful and where can we get to if we all work collectively. Dr. Lieberman.
Well, this is not going to be rectified and normalized with a quick fix. It's going to take us a while to come out of this. But the good news is that we can learn lessons from what we've experienced. And these are problems we can solve, but it's going to take commitment, and it's going to take cooperation, and it's going to take groups and stakeholders coming together. And I hope that in addition to the society realizing that, in the healthcare system understanding that mental health care will be elevated as an important component of society and in healthcare services.
Thank you for that. Haley.
Yes, absolutely. You know, unfortunately, shootings are up in our communities, but that doesn't mean that we can't still feel that our future as a city is bright. We must always operate with the mentality of being solution oriented. And again, that we could all play a role in public safety. So we really have these community-led approaches that are at the table, really being focused and knowing that we can all play a role. I think that, again, we have a very hopeful future in helping to address the root cause issues of gun violence, because again, gun violence is pulling that trigger is the last thing that happens. There's so many structural factors that come into play. So as long as we're all being a team and really working in our, as long as we're all working together to play our own roles in making our community safer, then I'm very hopeful that we will be able to reduce this gun violence that's affecting us.
All right, Chief, closing remarks.
I think being retired almost a year now, I still have reach back, and every single police officer and above that I speak to, I still tell them to stay positive. The city's going to turn around, and just how critical their efforts are. And that's one aspect of the equation. Anyone that we can reach to in any agency from every corner and in any part of the city, we shall encourage them to remain optimistic. But there's another piece of this. And I think that since I know for a fact the police department can't do it alone, by virtue of the job that the NYPD has, they're always going to run into gunshot victims. They're always going to respond and deal with somebody who has a gun. What's missing is, out of this equation, is a mini task force, if you will, of all those stakeholders, whether they're credible messengers, clergy, elected officials, Department of Education, your local tenant association president, because at some point in the process, they have to come in and really chime in and get to the root cause of why we have one of our young people carrying a gun. In the police department, and I tell you, I responded to numerous shootings, it was kind of like always the same answer. People did not want to speak to the police because if we go full circle, that mistrust. So let's create something in place that triggers an automatic notification to a group of individuals once we come in contact with a gunshot victim or someone that's arrested with a gun, and have this group of individuals who have the same vested interest, which is to protect our young people, stop gun violence, come in and get to work.
Thank you so very much for joining us this evening. Take care. Be well.
Nuestros pensamientos y oraciones están con aquellas personas que perdieron seres queridos este año por violencia con armas de fuego.
And a very special thank you to Mayor Adams and our panelists, retired NYPD Chief of Patrol Fausto Pichardo, Dr. Jeffrey Lieberman, Director of Community Violence Prevention, Haley Nolasco, and our moderator, Julia Mejia, for your conscious words and spending this time with us here at Dominicans on the Hill. It's just wonderful to... Hold on.
¿Qué pasa?
No, I can't find it. It's my phone, but yeah, it's my phone, and I I don't know. I
Pero
think it fell here
Damari,
somewhere.
en serio, tú estás parando una transmisión en vivo para buscar un celular.
I promise, but it's just going to be for 1 second. It's ringing here. Hold on.
Señores, esto es increíble. Lo propio es apagar un celular cuando se está trabajando, por el amor de Dios.
Brea, sorry. I finally found it. It's right here. I promise it's only going to take a moment. It's probably important.
Dios mío.
No, but listen, no. I don't have any messages. ¿Ves? Qué raro.
Ay. Excúsenme, señores, era el mío, soy yo.
¿Y qué era lo que tú estabas diciendo? Ya yo veo como la cosa. Muy lindo juzgarme a mí, Bre. A ver, ¿quién te está mandando? ¿Qué te están mandando por ahí?
Bueno, gracias a Dios que lo dejé encendido porque estos mensajes son muy buenos y muy buenos para la audiencia. ¿Qué hago? Dime.
I think you are speaking about the same messages that I received last year. So it's super simple. All you have to do is send them along to the production, and that way we can all be a part of these text messages that you are receiving in the middle of our production, Brea.
Pero ¿y cómo hago eso?
Ay, Dios, Brea. Clearly you need to spend more time with the Dominicans in tech. Use AirDrop. Jeez, it's simple.
Ya lo estoy cargando. Chequen estos mensajes de los líderes políticos del Congreso de los Estados Unidos.
As House Speaker, it is my honor to join the leaders and advocates gathering virtually for Congressman Espaillat's annual Dominicans on the Hill event. Thank you, Congressman Espaillat, for your relentless leadership on behalf of our Dominican American community. The Congress is thankful for the perspective you bring as the first Dominican American to serve in the House, and our country is grateful for your work to lift up the voices of our Dominican American community. Indeed, the energy and activism of Dominican Americans and all our vibrant, diverse immigrant communities make America more American. As we continue to battle the pandemic, we must never forget that people of color have been among the hardest hit, both by the virus and by the recession. Yet even before the virus struck, communities of color faced long-standing inequities across society. In the depths of this crisis, President Biden and Democrats knew that we could not go back to where we were before. We must build back better. That is why in our American Rescue Plan, we put money directly in the pockets of those who needed help the most. Now the Democratic Congress is hard at work to build a stronger, fairer future with more jobs, lower costs, lower taxes for our families. And as we do so, our nation will continue to draw inspiration from the Dominican American community during this challenging moment. And we will continue to value your bold voices for equity and justice. So thank you for joining this lovely event and for your participation in our democracy. Best wishes for a wonderful celebration.
Buenas noches. Les saluda el senador Bob Menendez de New Jersey. I want to welcome everyone participating in the 4th Dominicans on the Hill event hosted by my colleague and friend, Congressman Adriano Espaillat. I want to give a very special welcome to those who are joining today from my home state of New Jersey, where more than 300,000 Dominicans live and strive for a better future. This space, created 4 years ago, is a unique forum for Dominicans from New Jersey and all across America to have an opportunity to engage with Congress. His commitment to his roots and the communities he serves made him create Dominicans on the Hill to ensure this community has an outlet to advocate for the issues that matter most to them and to their families. Y también porque él sabe que cuando nos unimos, nuestra voz se hace más fuerte. I commend your efforts to strategize on how to best alleviate the tremendous hardship caused by COVID-19 and prepare the Dominican community across the country for future economic, educational, and political flourishment in a post-COVID-19 world that cannot come soon enough. I wish you all a wonderful virtual event. May you have many fruitful discussions and connections with like-minded people to work together to achieve success. And I hope next time I can join you in person to learn about your stories and even dance samba bachata. Muchas gracias y que Dios la bendiga.
Hi, everyone. This is Senator Chuck Schumer, and it's such a pleasure to greet the amazing Dominican community in New York and across the nation. You are our future, and you so greatly enrich the United States in so many ways. First, let me hope and pray that you and your family are safe and are healthy. And I'm really sorry we can't get together in person this year, but I'm so glad that this great event is happening virtually and we can still celebrate the wonderful Dominican community. First, I want to recognize my good friend, Congressman Adriano Espaillat, for all the work he does on behalf of the Dominican American community. Adriano, of course, made history in 2016. He was the first Dominican American and the first formerly undocumented immigrant to be elected to Congress. Yay, that's a great thing. And he's emblematic of the great contributions that Dominican Americans have made to this country. As the first Senate Majority Leader from New York, I'm so proud to recognize so many diverse communities, including the Dominican American community centered in Washington Heights, in Inwood, and throughout the Bronx and New York City. I love marching in the Dominican Day Parade and doing my best to dance El Merengue. I'm not good at it, but I love doing it. You've seen me. And I know that we'll continue to work together to support the great Dominican American community in New York and across the nation. You are the greatest. Si se puede.
Estimados amigos, me complace mucho saludarlos. Yo soy Sonia Guzmán, embajadora de la República Dominicana en los Estados Unidos de América. Me complace muchísimo estar en esta ocasión participando en un evento tan simbólico e importante como es Dominicans on the Hill, y agradezco muchísimo al congresista Adriano Espaillat por abrirme las puertas nuevamente, permitiéndome formar parte de esta celebración de hermandad. La República Dominicana ha impulsado junto a Panamá y Costa Rica la Alianza para el Desarrollo en Democracia, para promover desde la democracia el crecimiento económico sostenible. Esta alianza fue destacada como positiva por el presidente estadounidense Joe Biden en el marco de la Cumbre por la Democracia celebrada el pasado mes de diciembre. En este mes de febrero, en que celebramos el surgimiento como nación libre de la República Dominicana, felicito a todos los dominicanos que han echado raíces en este hermano país y les insto a que, como dijo el patricio Juan Pablo Duarte, trabajemos juntos para la patria, que es trabajar para nuestros hijos y para nosotros mismos. Muchas gracias.
Every year, Dominicans on the Hill brings together the brightest minds, toughest fighters, and those making the biggest impact throughout the Dominican diaspora. And we're proud to be a part of this celebration tonight.
We know the past 2 years have been tough, but you have shown the world that you're resilient. The fighters of today, inspiring the leaders of tomorrow.
Our Dominican American communities have been disproportionately impacted by the pandemic.
But the Dominican American community is strong and vibrant and resilient, and you also cook great food. That's a powerful combination.
But together, we're recovering, and you're empowering your brothers and sisters across the diaspora to do the same.
What you've accomplished together must be celebrated.
To show this country and the world that there's nothing you can't accomplish. Because Mangu power, right?
We are thrilled that Congressman Adriano Espaillat and his team have continued with this momentous event to bring your diaspora together and empower the communities you represent.
We're honored to be part of this program tonight because we know how critical your voices are in being the change we want to see in this country.
It's in moments like these that we're united. We rise up and above, keeping with us a newfound bond that is unbreakable. And remember,
Dominicanos hasta la tambora.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, a very important message from the President of the United States of America, Joseph R. Biden.
Congressman, it's good to see you. This wonderful tradition continues. I know it's been difficult for your district and this community. The loss of Detectives Wilbur Moore and Jason Rivera I got to speak with both of their families. It's so tough, and what a loss for New York and what a loss for the nation. And Congressman, thank you for your leadership, your partnership, and your important issue of public safety. The contributions of those heroic young men were like the contributions we see Dominican Americans making every day in America as service members and diplomats, artists and athletes, educators, healthcare workers, farm workers, and other frontline workers carrying us through this pandemic. In our bipartisan infrastructure law and my Build Back Better agenda, we're making sure that the Dominican American community benefits from historic investments in roads, clean water, high-speed internet, childcare, early education, and healthcare. And these and so many other issues, we need your voices, we need your energy. Some of you remember during the Democratic convention that nominated me when singer Prince Royce performed a bilingual version of Stand By Me. It was a wonderful mix of cultures, language, and sounds, and it meant a lot he'd do that. The message remains true. We're going to continue to stand together. We must stand together. Thank you for all you do, and may God bless you all. May God protect our troops.
Thank you, Speaker Pelosi, Senator Menendez, Senator Schumer, Ambassador Guzman, and those members of Congress for taking part in Dominicans on the Hill 2022.
Damaris, esos mensajes estuvieron excelentes, pero como que yo quiero seguir con música, no sé.
Ay, Dios, Brea. Put that tambora of yours away and let's leave the music to our guests, the experts.
Okay.
Well, it is my pleasure to introduce a queen of the merengue, the one and only Miriam Cruz.
Don Johnny Ventura. Para mí, uno de los artistas más reconocidos, admirado, respetado, amado y fuente de inspiración como yo y como muchos que quisieran trascender y permanecer en el arte. Siempre lo voy a recordar porque compartir con él como persona, como artista, sumó mucho a mi carrera, tanto que tengo el privilegio de haber grabado 2 canciones de su autoría y de que hayan sido éxito. Yo quiero que todo el mundo sepa que todo el tiempo Johnny Ventura sonará en nuestra música, en el merengue. Cada vez que en la República Dominicana suene un merengue, tenemos automáticamente que pensar en Don Johnny Ventura, en su energía, en su baile, en su sonrisa tan linda y tan amplia que llenaba todos los escenarios. Digno de todo reconocimiento. Así es que yo agradezco con toda mi alma, como dominicana, al señor Espaillat por esta iniciativa de reconocer en grande a uno de nuestros artistas más queridos. Que viva por siempre. Y yo, como Johnny Ventura, merenguera hasta la tambora.
Por mucho más de una razón es necesario que te olvides. Me has enfocado a comprender que así vivir no tiene gracia. Yo por salvar la relación he dado todo cuanto pides. Mientras tu ingrato proceder va construyendo mi desgracia. Tengo motivos para ver que es necesario que te olvides. Aunque yo pude, no fallé, me he dedicado solo a amarte. Que el gran error que cometí fue soportar cómo vives. Pero he jurado no aceptar después de hoy otro desplante. Es necesario que te deje, que me vaya, que me aleje, que me olvide de ti. Es importante que comprendas que tus manos y tus labios solo saben herir. Es necesario aniquilar y sepultar la pesadilla que viví junto a ti. Vives tú una cosa hueca que carece de sentido y que voy a morir. Es necesario que yo perfume mi cuerpo con aromas que no huelan a ti. Es importante que yo saque de mi mente
Señores, pero qué rico, ¿eh? Cada vez que yo escucho un ritmo así, como que me lleno de alegría.
Yo también, Brea. But do you know what else brings me joy?
Mangú, sancocho.
Well, Brea, I do love a good sancocho. I'm not going to lie, como buena dominicana, but that's not exactly where I was going. In these most recent and unprecedented times, the feeling of being safe and having the knowledge to protect myself and my family has brought me a lot of joy. This knowledge and science helps us all move forward as we make our way out of these dark times. A lot of that information has come from Dr. Anthony Fauci. As one of the world's leading scientists and doctors on infectious diseases, we are honored to have him back at Dominicans on the Hill 2022. Check it out.
Thank you, Congressman Espaillat, for all of your efforts to encourage the Dominican diaspora to get vaccinated and for the opportunity to participate again in the Dominicans on the Hill event. My name is Dr. Tony Fauci, and I'm the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and the chief medical advisor to President Biden. Right now, cases of the Omicron variant are declining, and we are all cautiously optimistic about the trajectory that we are on. This is good news. At the same time, I want to encourage everyone to remain vigilant, to do all we can to stay heading in the right direction and make our way through what has been such a difficult time for all of us. We are all too familiar with how new variants can threaten all of our progress against COVID-19. Vaccination and boosting will be critical in not only limiting the chances for new variants to emerge, but also in preventing severe disease and hospitalization. For those in our communities with underlying health conditions that put them at a higher risk of developing severe COVID-19, boosters are even more important. Now, I know that there are individuals who may continue to have a certain level of hesitation about getting vaccinated. For your own health and peace of mind, I urge you to protect yourself and your community by getting vaccinated and boosted if you haven't already. The COVID-19 vaccines have undergone extensive evaluation to ensure their safety and effectiveness. We also know that being unvaccinated puts you at a much higher risk of being hospitalized from COVID-19. Since the last Dominicans on the Hill event, we also have seen a number of new therapies become available for those infected with COVID-19, namely Paxlovid and Molnupiravir, as well as a new monoclonal antibody that is effective against the Omicron variant. While this is certainly good news to us all, these new drugs do not lessen the importance of vaccination. So please, get vaccinated and boosted.
Damaris, tú no has visto esto. Dominicans on the Hills es un evento muy especial y como que une a las personas.
How do you mean, Brea?
Oh, pero tú has visto, Damaris, un evento, o ustedes han visto un evento donde se unan a presidentes, al Speaker Pelosi, a Fefita La Grande, Anthony Fauci, Brea Frank, contigo. Pero tú estás loca.
Well, you are absolutely right, Brea, and it doesn't stop there. We would like to take this time to acknowledge and highlight Dominican Americans in new positions of leadership in government.
My name is Sabina Matos. I'm the Lieutenant Governor for the state of Rhode Island.
Soy Gemín Gawat, acá de la ciudad de Perth Amboy, en New Jersey.
Saludos, mi nombre es Pierina Sánchez, representando al Distrito 14 del Bronx en el Consejo Municipal.
Hey everyone, my name is Christopher Marte. I'm the City Council Member representing Lower Manhattan, the first Dominican to represent that district with...
Hi everybody, soy concejal Oswald Félix, también el primer dominicano representando el Distrito 15 en el Bronx.
Yo soy Sean Abreu, el primer dominicano elegido para el Distrito 7 del Alto Manhattan.
My name is Amanda Farias, and I am a member of the New York City Council representing District 18 in the Bronx.
Hi, I'm Antonio Reynoso, the Brooklyn Borough President in New York City.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Eric Arroyo. I'm the mayor of the city of Sarasota, Florida.
Thank you for attending the 4th Annual Dominicans on the Hill Conference. Mi nombre es Daisy Baez y los quiero invitar a que estén atentos para nuestra próxima conferencia Dominicanos en la Casa Blanca, un evento que tendrá como propósito conectar a nuestras comunidades con las diversas agencias del Estado para entender cuáles son los fondos, recursos y programas que se pueden utilizar para mejorar la calidad de vida de nuestras comunidades. Estén atentos, más información a seguir.
Thank you very much, Daisy, and to our new Dominican Americans in leadership for the work that you do to make this world a better place and representing us when and where it counts. It has been a true pleasure.
Y la última actuación de la noche es para un hombre que llevó la dominicanidad con mucho orgullo y sobre todo con mucho honor. Y esta vez, Handy Ventura, hijo del gran Johnny Ventura, le rinde un homenaje a su padre y tiene unas palabras muy importantes para todos nosotros. Adelante, Handy.
Quiero decir que mi padre como artista paseó nuestra música, el merengue, por todos los rincones del mundo. Fue de los pioneros en muchos de los sitios, bueno, creo que en todos, donde se escuchó el ritmo de merengue. Y de verdad que esto me llena de mucho orgullo, satisfacción de saber de que ese dominicano que salió de donde solo abunda la escasez pudo llegar tan lejos y que todos ustedes le abrieran las puertas de su casa y de su corazón para dejarlo entrar. No sé si seguir hablando de él porque creo que faltarían palabras para describirlo, creo que faltarían diferentes situaciones para poder compararlo y que ustedes entiendan de la dimensión tan grande que yo considero mi padre como fue y como es. Porque digo es porque creo que no está muerto, siempre lo tendré vivo en mi corazón y así mismo espero que ustedes pues lo mantengan vivo por medio de su música, por medio del legado que ha dejado para que generaciones posteriores a su muerte pues puedan seguir disfrutando de todo lo que hizo por nuestra República Dominicana. Así que lo voy a dejar con un pequeño homenaje que le rendimos el 24 de septiembre del año pasado, 2021, donde hicimos este concierto denominado El Legado del Caballo.
Lo mío no es nuevo, no es cosa de ahora. Yo soy merenguero, hasta la tambora.
Lo mío no es nuevo, no es cosa de ahora. Yo soy merenguero, hasta la tambora.
Ay, merenguero hasta la tambora.
Merenguero hasta la tambora.
A bailar con guira y tambora.
Hasta la tambora.
Ay, espera que llegue la aurora.
Merenguero hasta la tambora.
Mami, si te vas no te vayas sola.
Hasta la tambora.
Hay muchas mujeres que no salen solas y son merengueras hasta la tambora.
Hay muchas mujeres que no salen solas y son merengueras hasta la tambora.
De bailar merengue llegó la hora.
Merenguero hasta la tambora.
Bailalo negrita, no salga sola.
Hasta la tambora.
Este merengue hasta la tambora.
Merenguero hasta la tambora.
Son merengueros hasta la tambora.
Hasta la tambora.
En Nueva York no baila con Lola.
Merenguero hasta la tambora.
Él lo gozaba con Isadora.
Hasta la tambora.
Y lo bailaba con Isadora.
Merenguero hasta la tambora.
Ay, esa negrota tan bailadora.
Hasta la tambora.
Ahí en Colombia dicen ahora.
Merenguero hasta la tambora.
Y el grupo Nietzsche no se incomoda.
Hasta la tambora.
No hay nada como el sabor dominicano, eso es evidente. Gracias, Andy Ventura, por tus palabras, tus mensajes y tu increíble actuación.
Me encantó, Brea. But before our night comes to a close, I want to say that it has been such a pleasure hosting the 4th Dominicans on the Hill with you, Brea. Mi hermano, mi compañero de trabajo, que me siento tan orgullosa de poder compartir esta plataforma contigo and to work alongside of you always.
Gracias, Damaris. Tú sabes que el sentimiento es mutuo y gracias también a todos los dominicanos alrededor de todo el mundo que han compartido esta transmisión histórica junto a nosotros dos. Un placer celebrar la dominicanidad, dominicano hasta la tambora, como debe de ser. Yo soy Brea Frank.
And I am Damaris Diaz, and thank you so much for celebrating with us tonight. And for the last time tonight, here is the man of the hour, the one and only Congressman Adriano Espaillat.
Thank you so much for watching, for your comments, and for your support of this year's Dominicans on the Hill. I want to especially thank Univision, Brea Frank, Damaris Diaz, and everyone that helped make tonight a reality. Thanks to every expert that helped make our discussions fruitful. Thanks to our young professionals for showing empowerment. Thank you to every artist and performer. And special thanks to the President of the Dominican Republic, the Honorable Luis Abinader, for stopping by to discuss the future of our diaspora. Tonight we learn how resilient the Dominican diaspora is. Thank you so much for tuning in and see you next year. Dominicanos, hasta la tambora.
Pongan atención, señores, a lo que voy a cantar. El merengue caña brava, sabrosito es de bailar. Pongan atención, señores, a lo que voy a cantar. El merengue caña brava, sabrosito es de bailar. Y dice: caña dulce, mamá, caña brava, dame un gajo, mamá, de tu caña, ay, mamá, un gajito, mamá, de tu caña, ay, mamá. No me llamo Pablo, tampoco Miguel, no me llamo Pablo, tampoco Miguel. Soy Anthony Ríos con sabor a miel, soy Anthony Ríos con sabor a miel. Esto de la miel, yo sí que lo ignoro, esto de la miel, yo sí que lo ignoro. Pues soy el único negro que vota bien por los poros, yo soy el único negro que vota bien por los poros. En lo de la miel, ¿y quién será quién? En lo de la miel, ¿y quién será quién? Pues si tú eres dulce, yo lo soy también. Que si tú eres dulce, yo lo soy también. Mi que tiene miel, pero tú no tienes nada. Mi que tiene miel y tú no tienes nada. Con ese cuentazo, muchacho, aquí en